Hello my lovelies, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Greta. Also, if you enjoy this kind of content, you enjoy perfumes, please consider hitting the subscribe button, and if you like it, hit the like button. I have for you a video I have been promising for so long. There's so many influencer collaborations out there now. I kept trying to do this video, but the problem was another one would drop, and then like another one. And it was like as soon as I got one, another one was announced. So I had been holding this off for way too long. There's now 4 more coming in. Gabby Loves Perfumes just announced she's doing a collaboration with Navitus. I will definitely get that for you. I have similar taste to her, so I'm super excited for that one. And then also the Z creators just dropped Z2O. That will be shipping in November. I have already ordered all 3 of those. I'm super excited because if you don't know, the Zaharoff perfumer is Claude Dir, and I absolutely love Claude Dir. He also did the current cult favorite by Narcotica, Dulce Diablo, which is a stunning fragrance, and that is the perfumer that Zaharoff uses for all of his fragrances, if you weren't aware. I have a whole bunch, so I'm going to try to get through what I can, and I'm definitely going to need a part 2 for the ones that are coming in and what I can't get to, because I have quite a few, and I do want to be able to give you a little bit of just a few words on it. So let's get to it. Okay, let me do first some of these older ones from Navitus. This was their first version. Now I have the travel set. This was sent to me back in the day. And I even gave a little bit of a tepid review on them. You know, I said what they smelled like, but they didn't entirely bowl me over. They weren't, they didn't make me weak in the knees, so to speak. But they're good. I just think Navitus has gotten better from their early fragrances. This is Opulentus, Arcanum, and Lautus. Lautus being kind of herbally, like in this weird addictive way, kind of like when there's this weird smell that isn't entirely pleasant, but you can't stop smelling it either. It's fresh, herbally. It's a mood thing. It's not an everyday thing, but I do kind of like it. And this leaked on a tissue that I had squirt on tissue by accident. It was by my bedstand, and I was weirdly obsessed with it. So I do kind of like Lautus, but I would give it a 6. Arcanum was probably the best one from their early releases. More of that winter, spicy, deep, rich kind of fragrance. I'm gonna give it a 7.5 because I need room for some really much better fragrances. But that's these early ones. We do this one here from Sammy Andreaus. Sammy is from Guatemala. He has a channel, but it is a Spanish channel, so I didn't really know him, but he was kind enough to offer to send me Heavenly Place. They've been so incredibly patient because I've had this for so long. I got it in the summer, and this really just didn't appeal to me in the summer. I knew it was a heavier fragrance that needed the winter time, and he's been so patient. And then since I got this barrage of other collaborations, I thought, you know what, let me put them all in here. Now this is based on cardamom, which I did not know, but Guatemala is the #1 import place for cardamom. And it really does center on cardamom. Now he has that, bookcase kind of style, which is very nice. I see this in a lot of new launches. It does come also with this really cute, you cannot forget where it's from, Guatemala. It says it right there. Cute pen that's wrapped in this macrame kind of wrap. This is really super cute, along with the notes list, which I always appreciate. It comes in a bottle. This is a nice friction fit. This is very light. This is plastic, but looks very good. And if you're gonna save money, I think that's a great way. The label is lifted. I don't know if you could tell. It's like a sticker on here, and it's like the metal bent. I mean, that could be better, but again, I guess it's about the juice. Now this is definitely masculine to me. I tried wearing this, I definitely can't. I don't think it's the geranium and lavender in here kind of combination, even though it is this sweet almost syrupy, but like a dry syrupy, if that makes sense. There is clove and cardamom in here, which I get a lot of that cardamom, but it's not like a crisp fragrance with cardamom. Again, it's that there's a lot of interesting spices in here. So yeah, there's like the patchouli and amber and all that, but there's a lot of really interesting spices that I haven't seen as a combination. So it's definitely unique. I don't know, there's something about it that doesn't really jive to my style personally, but I really appreciate the uniqueness and what he did here. And I think this is his first in this tier, that he's done others. It's kind of nice that he sent me this because I actually was not even aware of him. But I think he did a really good job on this. So keep it up, Sammy. But in the end, it gets a 7 because it's not really my style. Next up, Unaverage Joe was really kind to send me this super generous decant here, 17 ml of his Unaverage patch. Now, if you watch Joe, which by the way, I have to say, if you don't know Unaverage Joe, he is the sweetest man you'll ever meet. He is super kind, super polite, nice to everyone, likes everyone, no drama, doesn't like drama. And I just, you know, I can't say enough. I've done some lives with him on his channel, and it was some of the most fun times that I've had doing lives because he is such a joy to just kind of hang out with. So now the perfume company here is Makin Sense. Now Makin Sense I actually didn't know either. It is a dupe company, and they did this for him because he loves Sour Patch Kids, which I kind of do too. They're sweet and tart, so I was really excited to try this because I love sweet and tart. And I definitely get a candy vibe from this. I get like a gumball machine combined with the Sour Patch Kids on the opening, and then he dries down, you really get that Sour Patch. Now, it's almost not fair putting him in the mix here, but plus I love the color they did. How cool is that? Because this is like a dupe company, just, you know, a little indie brand that is competing here with like Fragrance Dubois for Demi. So not really entirely fair, but in order to stay with the same scale, I have to give this a 6.5, and I feel really bad because I really do think they did a good job with those resources and just, you know, who it is. But compared to Fragrance Dubois, I mean, it's just not fair, right? But I think he did a really good job. I think this is super fun, and I like this. So that is Unaverage Patch, and I know they did like some hybrids there too. Guys, I am wearing glasses today. Sorry, I'm doing a bunch of filming, and my eyes are so irritated, and I just can't do the contacts today. So I'm hoping they don't reflect too much on screen. I don't really ever, I actually don't mind wearing glasses, but I don't do it on film just because with the cameras, and I don't have fancy glasses that don't reflect, and I don't have fancy cameras either, nor am I like a camera professional photographer that I know how to offset that stuff. So thank you for bearing with me. Well, since we mentioned it, let's do it. Fergus Dubois Minuit at Demi. I've had this since the launch. I was the very last person to get it. It was a very rough arrival for me because it arrived after such a rough travel of several months and like got lost and then just dropped off. It was so disturbed, I could not smell a thing. It smelled of literally nothing, and I was so bugged by this whole thing. Like I had a hair at my butt, I really did. But it settled. I left it on the shelf and then came back around to it months later, and I was amazed. It was beautiful, beautiful. And it definitely, all of a sudden, I could smell all the nuances in it. I think they did a beautiful job. I like that they kind of broke, you know, this was before some other releases, and they kind of broke out of that oud barrier where they were just known for oud fragrances. And they did a more mass appealing. I do find it a little feminine leaning. Softer than Luna Feline. Like Luna Feline is the powerhouse. This is the purr, and that is the bashing down the doors. I do like it with that little streak of coffee in there. There's a nice caramel in there, and I think a little cocoa in there, which, and a nice play on names too, which I think a subscriber had come up with that name, Minuit at Demi. But I would give this a 9.5. I actually really enjoy this one by Fragrance Dubois. Next up, I have from Carolina Fragrance, Cam. If you don't know him, He came out with 2 fragrances. He was originally with the Z group, but dropped out of that and went on his own. And he did 2-6 elixir. This one is really fun. This one takes you through a journey, and he actually has a really cool story. I did a video dedicated just to this fragrance. There's a really cool story on it where it is basically on Prohibition. It's kind of like a Dukes of Hazzard kind of story during the Prohibition times. So you get like all the smells they would get driving through the fields, because where he lives, there are all these fields, and it's actually kind of cool. And this is a nice creamy tobacco where there's also this fruitiness in there, creaminess. I do find that it leans masculine as much as I like it, and it almost wants to be unisex. Like it kind of wants to be, but there's something in it that just the end of the day makes it masculine. So I haven't really worn this one, but I really like it. I'm gonna give that a 7.5. Carolina Fragrance Cam then came out with a second fragrance. Now this is the one that stole my heart. He came out with Southern Peach Tea. He also got nicer packaging as well, which I really appreciate. He's got nicer boxes, nicer bottles, nicer everything. Everything got an upgrade. And the fragrance, like this, is truly unisex. And the girls went bananas for this one. This is a refreshing tea with a beautiful, juicy peach. Like, who doesn't like that in the summertime? Like, holy cow. It is such a beautiful, photorealistic, natural smelling peach that I absolutely love, with a refreshing tea around it. I'm gonna give this one a 9. I'm inclined to almost go higher than 9, to be honest. But with the modest packaging, I'm gonna say 9. But man, I can't wait to see Cam do another release. Like, I really hope he's got a third one up his sleeve. I just don't see him giving up, because just the improvements have been phenomenal, and I'm really love this. Is still one of my favorites. I absolutely love this one. Next up, I have Dan Mr. Smelly. I have his fragrances here, Bon Viveur and Gravitas. Let's start with Bon Viveur. Bon Viveur, it kind of reminds me of Creed Bois de Portugal, the way there's this powderiness to it. There's something a little more mature about it. This is not for a very young man. There's something about that a little bit more gentlemanly. He does have a very vintage style. That is Dan's thing. He loves the vintage style fragrances. I really enjoyed this one, but I felt like it was a little less mass appealing the way this one turns, as much as I really enjoy powderiness in a fragrance, even for men. But there was something about it I couldn't put my finger on, and I really liked his other one better. I would give this one a 7.5. Now Gravitas, on the other hand, is a beautiful, classic men's fragrance. This is a beautiful, aromatic, spicy, classic gentleman's fragrance. This is so easy to wear. And again, these from Naughton Wilson are pretty affordable too. I mean, you know, you heard pressed to buy men's designers for $100. So I think, and then I think I have a code too. I think I have Greta 20 that saves you money also. So it makes them really affordable that, gosh, for this price, I think Gravitas is a workhorse, I have to say. I mean, I think it's a phenomenal, everyday, really good smelling fragrance. It's just, that little bit of sweet vanilla in there too. I just find this really attractive and just so easy to wear, yet isn't overdone. It's not like Sauvage, where like everyone and their brother is wearing Sauvage, that it gets nauseating, you know? So I think because it's a little different, yet just is equally mass appealing and easy to wear, I think Gravitas gets high ranks. I'm gonna give Gravitas a 9. Next up, I have Paulina Char's Venom of Love that she just did with Navitus. This one is a beautiful, realistic cherry cordial where it's like a chocolate with cherry and liqueur on the inside of the chocolate that you bite into it and liquid just oozes, and then you have this boozed cherry in the middle. It is very photorealistic. I absolutely love the opening of this fragrance, and it is a beast. I don't necessarily, it's not my style, the dry down. There's a very Middle Eastern flair to this that gives it that beast mode. You know, like Shagaf Oud has this just beast mode, like unrelenting beast mode to it. and this certain kind of Middle Eastern kind of undertone to it that is personally not my style. But I can certainly appreciate that as her objective, that's what she likes and what she wanted. She nailed it. So you have to give her credit for that. Man, I do love the gourmand aspect of this one. It is so yummy. So, so yummy. But that Middle Eastern aspect to it, that like scratchy kind of undertone, just kind of grates on me personally. That like after 8 hours, I'm done. I need something a little softer and more relaxing on me. But I'm gonna give this an 8 because I actually really, really love the opening on this. I think the gourmand on here is amazing. Next up, I have a bunch from Jeremy Fragrance. Now, Office, gosh, I totally see the whole Sauvage thing. Like, there's, wow. Yeah, to me, his fragrances, I mean, it makes sense. He definitely goes for the masses. He goes for the most sold fragrances, which are designers. They're the most accessible, the most sold. It's going to hit the most people, and that's what he wanted with the growth of his channel. So it makes sense that he would go for a designer appeal, and he used the perfumers of the fragrances that he absolutely loves. But I feel like, you know, his prices, and I know he plays the game on the website of like constant discounts and bundles and things, and it brings it back down to speed to it makes it feel like you're getting a bargain when really you're going through all these hoops just to get to the price it really deserves to be. So I don't know how I feel about that. And who even knows if like it's really going to be unavailable or not. I don't know. He's like changed the dialogue on that a few times. So I don't know. But the price that he has it listed at and hoops you have to go through, I feel like they're definitely designer type scents. And this is really like Dior Sauvage. And if that's the case, I'm probably just going to buy Dior Sauvage. Right? I mean, I actually like Gravitas over his Office, to be honest. It's just what I would do. But I would give it, I would give it a 7.5 or 8. Let's see. Let's go 7.5 for Office. I mean, it's a solid fragrance. I mean, it's solid, but not spectacular. Next up, I have Date. Date goes a little bit sweeter, heavier, to be kind of like that sexy mode. Again, like I said, they all kind of have this designer flair to them with niche prices. I like this better than Office, much better. You know, I'm gonna give this one an 8.5. I actually kind of like this one. I do kind of like it. I do feel like they're a little, you know, the price game thing, but I do indeed like it. Next up, I have Jeremy's Unisex. Now, honestly, I thought Unisex was gonna be a freshie, like a universal freshie, especially, you know, he loves his light blue, and in Germany, like the freshies are really popular, and he has such a love for light blue. But it's surprisingly sweet. That I do give him points for throwing me for a loop there. Like, my expectations were way off. I kind of like this, but I find it more feminine than Unisex. But I kind of like it. I'm gonna give this one an 8 also. Next up, I have the women's fragrances. I have Women Day and Women Night, which I think is really weird that he uses for men, Office and Date, and for women, Day and Night. I mean, maybe he was just trying to find different terms and not use the same terms again, but it is a little weird, right? I mean, I get it. I mean, you know. Now, Day is a beautiful, sweet orange blossom kind of fragrance, which is popular also. There's a lot of fragrances with that orange blossom vanilla. This doesn't give you that thick haze like something like Love Don't Be Shy is, though. It's more translucent than that. Kind of gives me like Armani Code kind of vibes a little bit. The older version, like not the new reformulated. They keep outlawing great raw materials, and that makes them reformulate these wonderful perfumes. But this is kind of like an Armani Code, which I like. I actually really like Armani Code. But again, he kind of went with like tried and true designers that were very successful, and he kind of went with those skeletons, so to speak, like the scaffolding of those same fragrances, and then just went his own little spin on how he fleshed them out. So So I really like this, but I have to tell you, longevity is pretty pitiful on this, is the only problem. Longevity, and when you look at the pricings on these, you know, and again, you can get our money code for really cheap, but I don't know. I'm gonna give it a 7.5 because I really do like it. I just think there's better options out there for this, but I do really like it. I just wish it lasted longer too. Then there's Women Night. Now, this is like gourmand-like. This is a little like thick and cocoa-like, gourmand, sexy, very like chocolatey-like, but not like chocolate bar, more like cocoa powder. Like there's a little bit of cocoa powder dustiness in here. Gosh, like Armani code cashmere or satin. Actually a lot like that. Wow, that just hit me too. That's what it's like. Doesn't have the leather in there or the suede, this leather suede that they use in the Armani code. Really kind of keeps to the, wow, really is a lot like Armani code, suede, satin, and cashmere. So very nice. And actually those are hard to find because they are discontinued. I think Dapper has a version of it. But given that, but now he's discontinued. And those were actually always really good favorites of mine. That I really like this. But again, there's a longevity issue, which I think the Armani had longevity issues too. So I'm gonna give this an 8.5. I actually really like this. By Big Beard Business, XO Brandy. Absolutely love this one, 9.5. It is sexy, it is rich, it has some booziness to it. This is a gorgeous cherry cordial in here, and then some booziness, and it gets rich and decadent, and this is amazing. You can get like some chocolate coming through. I think this is stunning. I find this to be much smoother than Venom of Love. Like this is a little bit more my style. I like that smoothness in here versus that beast mode Shagaf Oud kind of scratchiness. This is gorgeous. If you haven't tried XO Brandy, this is gorgeous. This is a 9.5. The Key by Big Beard Business. I absolutely love this one. This is another one that the first couple hours are unisex, but then the dry down, end of the day, really does just go masculine. But then it's a little bit lighter where I can layer it with something else and kind of go feminine again. But the Key is an amazing freshie in the summertime. And I mean, I love this blue too. Look at this gorgeous sapphire blue. It's just so stunning. This is so incredible with a bunch of citruses, a little zing of ginger in there. Refreshing, but that ginger just gives it exactly that. It's like a Pimm's cup. This kind of reminds me of a Pimm's cup, really. If you've ever had that, I think it's a British drink. Not a lot of places know it, but it's like that. It's Pimm's liquor and then some seltzer and some cucumber. Like it's actually so refreshing. And then the dry down gets a little bit more in that masculine kind of vetiver zone where that dry down is very dry and woody. And that dry, woody, like bone dry vetiver is more of a masculine form of vetiver that he used. That, I mean, it's wonderful on a man. It's incredible in a heat. I mean, citruses and that like gin kind of juniper berry kind of feel along with the dry woods are so perfect for men in the winter. I'm gonna give this a 9.5. I really like it. It's great for men. It is not for women really, but again, I can get away with it with the first few hours, but I really, really like the Key. And longevity is like for the day. That woodiness I'm sure stays, but for me, again, I layer over it by then. Big Beard Business Siesta Drive. Absolutely love this one. I really love the fresh citruses in here. This is definitely more light, effervescent kind of fragrance. Wonderful in the spring and the summertime. One of my favorites, kind of like a sweet, like sugared lemon kind of, like those sugared lemon candies. I think it's so incredible, but when it gets to the dry down, push come to shove, it does turn masculine. But however, because it's a little bit of a lighter fragrance, I'm able to then layer at that time and I can have those first couple hours that is just sheer joy for me. But I am so sad that it turned really masculine. But for men, this is phenomenal. So I'm going to, gosh, I think for men, it's phenomenal. I think for me, it's disappointing that it turns so masculine, but This is so good, Siesta Drive. And living in Southern California, I really appreciate it. Let's go with 8. Next one I have the Embrace with Monica Chioc. This is another gorgeous gourmand. Such amazing almond in here. I think so far, Big Beard Business and Monica did some really amazing gourmands with them. This is such a gorgeous roasted almond. And then this one does go through different layers. There's also some like cinnamon in here, cardamom in here, and coffee and nutmeg. And it's just such a beautiful fragrance for the fall and the winter time. I think she did an amazing job with the Embrace. It's definitely a nice cozy gourmand. 9.5. Newer release from Bowtie Fragrance. And I have to tell you, like, I found his previous rounds of fragrances, because I do have all the discovery kits. I found them to be really super masculine. Like, there was no women wearing them like it. There's, you know, masculine, and there's feminine, and there's this large gray area of unisex, right? Like, some are just truly unisex, and some are like, you know, they're unisex depending on your chemistry, depending on your tastes. Has a whole lot of give there. His are usually just masculine, like it's uber masculine, which I love on a man, masculinity. So just to me, they weren't appealing for that reason. He now has 3 new drops, one of them being Divine Aphrodisiac, which has gotten a lot of attention. This reminds me, like, I make my morning lattes. I'm very serious about my coffees in the morning. And I have I have a whole bar of Tirani syrups, and one of them is peanut butter flavor. And surprisingly, like, it actually is quite good when you put peanut butter syrup in your coffee. And this reminds me of that, because there's like sesame in there, and there's peanut butter, and there's this like buttery orris, kind of buttery, powdery kind of thing going with the coffee, and like a nice earthy kind of vetiver. So it really is like cinnamon and peanut butter in your coffee. It's a really cozy gourmand that just kind of goes a different way. And I love the originality here, and yet it's also flavors that I happen to like and do. So if you like that almond, nutty peanut butter, it's like almond and peanut butter in here, and sesame. So you get all these different little like nuts and seeds in there along with that coffee. I just think this is wonderful and creamy. Love it. I'm gonna give this one a 9, which brings me to the newest Eau Debonair, which is where I think he went back to that whole like uber masculine kind of thing, where it smells so yummy. I have to admit, this is so yummy. And this green color, it's this gorgeous, look at this gorgeous, like kind of emerald green, like a turquoise / emerald green. It's kind of a combo, blue green. I absolutely love this color, and it really does express it, because there's a certain freshness to it, yet it's not blue and it's not green, but there's this freshness. Absolutely love this. Creamy white florals, fresh citrusy, fresh notes to this, almost like an aquatic kind of feel, but there's no aquatic notes in here. But then at the end of the day, that oak moss in the base kind of takes over and turns it masculine, but I get tremendous joy from this one. And I think Debonair is a great expression. And there's something very like sea breeze about it that I really enjoy. It does go through a process, which I really appreciate, but this does go masculine. So, man, this one is stinking good on a man though. I'm gonna say 8 for a man, 7.5 for me. Also, Bowtie just dropped Sartorial Nuit. I haven't had much chance to properly wear this one yet, but with the lavender and clary sage in here, it really gives that classic masculine undertone, while also being super like fresh but creamy, like a fresh gourmand, if that makes sense. I really like, there's the tonka in there and this vanilla that's really creamy and sweet, with that sandalwood vanilla musk base, man. I'm gonna give this one a little bit more chance, and I'm gonna put this one in the second batch as well, because I don't really feel fair. I would right now give it a 9. Like my first, I have not seen this follow through too much, but the opening gets a 9. I really like that sandalwood vanilla musk in here with a little bit of tonka and orange blossom. It just gives this sweet, creamy kind of thing going on here. I'm really liking this one, but I want to make sure that the dry down doesn't go really super masculine because he does have that tendency in his fragrances. But Sartorial Nuit, I will get back to you on this one. But yeah, let me wrap that up. I do have more, and like I said, I do expect 4 more to come in between Gabby and the Z2O. I did not ever get the Z initial creations. I never did get them. You know, I can only hope their second batch is going to be even better, right? But those are all of these. I went through a whole bunch for you and gave you my rankings. Really not a lot of dislikes here. Like, I really kind of like them. I just have some loves mixed in there. So I hope that helped you. Hope you had fun with it, and I'll see you in the next one. Mwah.